Alf, we have to read between the lines here.
Join my crew. You take the card and put it in the sleeve.
Card shops, existing card shops, sports card shops, pressure is coming, more pressure than what we've seen over the last 12 months. And there's evidence here, there's little breadcrumbs. When Michael Rubin speaks, we listen.
Okay. All right. This was not what we were hoping for.
Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Card Dad. Today we'll be talking about card shops, and we'll also be talking about PSA numbers and grading numbers as a whole. New stuff out from GemRate that we have got to talk about. Before we start, thank you to our channel partners, PSA, with 25% off your first submission over there with the SCD25 code at the shipping and billing screen. Tell a friend who can use this $25 off. The hobby's not getting any cheaper, friends, so make sure to get the money off, as well as all the other discounts I've got in my video description, as well as in the pinned comments. JustCollect.com. You've got a collection to sell. If you want to reach out to me for more info on this, feel free to do so. My email, again, in the video description, or I'm on IG at SportsCardDad. But JustCollect.com can give you a free appraisal there, whether it's modern, vintage cards. Easy peasy. All right, so Darren Rovell out at the National did an interview with Mike Mahan and Michael Rubin. These guys really at the top of the food chain at Fanatics and Topps, and they had answers for questions, especially ones that we've seen around Fanatics Fest versus the National. Are these competing shows? I went to both of these this year, and I felt like, hey, look, these feel like complementary shows to me. But what I will say, though, is listening to Michael Rubin and listening to these guys, they're ambitious. It's not that they're trying to knock out the National. They're trying to compete with the National because Fanatics Fest is a very different show from the National. But I do believe that Fanatics wants to have a larger footprint, a larger influence over that National Sports Card Collectors Convention. What happened this year that shows evidence of that? Well, guess who came to the National? Tom Brady. Does Tom Brady come to the National if it's not for Michael Rubin? No, he doesn't. He does have new card stores, so you could maybe argue like, oh, well, he's got, Card Vault now, and they've now opened their 6th store. Wrigley Field is the newest one, and so maybe he would have been there anyway. No, I really don't believe that he would. He had a pretty nice setup there, kind of with a big vault door thing. His stores are kind of like Gucci stores for sports cards, the way that they look. Just they look fantastic. I will say, though, they do have lower to mid-end cards in there, so it's not as if you're walking in and it's just $10,000 sports cards. They've got $100, $200 cards from what I've seen in their marketing at Card Vault. So while it is known to be high-end in certain respects, there are mid-tier cards there as well. But let's kind of talk about why I hope that we don't go too far in that direction. That'll be a little bit later on. Let's play a clip here and listen to just a piece of the interview that Darren Rovell at Collect.com. Make sure to check out Collect.com. Great stories there, great news coverage. But let's listen to what Michael Rubin has to say. Again, I listen carefully to this guy because I'm always trying to glean little tidbits as he drops breadcrumbs. And Nat Turner, the most powerful guys in this hobby, when they talk, I listen. Let's play that clip.
We've seen all these openings. Obviously, we've never seen something like this in the collecting world where you have someone who is so fresh, so high thought of, in this space. What has that meant to collecting?
We're all about authenticity in everything that we do. Tom has been a collector his entire life. When Tom, who's, not only, one of the most important or the most important, athlete partners to Fanatics, but he's also, one of my closest friends, when he came to myself and Mike and said, look, I love collecting, what can we do together? We saw it as a natural marriage to help put the Card Vault and Tom together. Tom's so into it. We were just on vacation last week. He's going through he gets the weekly sales reports. He goes through them, what's happening in each store, what products are selling. He's asking questions. He's calling Mike just like any other hobby shop, fighting for allocations.
Hey, there's George Clooney's house in Lake Como. Oh my God, no, you should check out. I'm looking already about the Topps Bowman Chrome.
Yeah, no, he's on it. He's super into it. They're opening their 6th store tonight. Yeah. And by the way, I tell you, it's amazing. I don't think a grand opening of a collectible store had more than 25 to 50 people ever come to it. When we opened the first store, we went to support time at the, what's the mall called again?
American Dream.
American Dream, thank you. The American Dream Mall. There were 5,000 people came out. We went to the Hampton store, which, by the way, I said, look, I spent a lot of time in the Hamptons. We got a lot of good people come through. We got to have a great store there. That's now, I think, their number one store is the store in the Hamptons. And no one would have spent the money to open a store like that before. So these stores are working. They're doing great. We're supporting them. Tom's doing a great job. And Tom, tonight, he's coming here to support the National and support card collecting, support Fanatics and Card Vault. And then tonight, we've got, I think most of the Cubs are coming out to the store tonight. I just saw this. I think there's 35 people who play for the Cubs. I didn't even know there were that many people who played on a baseball team. So it's incredible. I mean, he's so into it. And, we're going to do this very carefully, but I won't be surprised if you saw other incredible athletes that were known to be authentic collectors end up in the future owning hobby shops as well.
Ruben and Tom Brady have a history together. If we go all the way back to October of 2020, just as the hobby is reeling with the pandemic and kind of starting to move up thanks to the pandemic in a strange way, Tom Brady signs an exclusive memorabilia deal with Fanatics. Michael Rubin said here in this video, he's not only one of Fanatics, if not the biggest brand partner, athlete partner for Fanatics, but he's also a great friend, as he mentions here. And then the part that I thought was really funny is when he says, oh, Tom Brady's looking at the sales reports and he's calling Mike Mahan, and he's asking for allocations. You know, he's pushing, he's fighting for more allocations for his stores. Keep in mind, he's got 6 stores right now. He wants to open a new store every single month for the foreseeable future. This guy might have 50 stores in a few years. This is the part that I struggle with. I don't think that Tom Brady's got to twist anybody's arm to get allocation. I just don't think his stores are going to be, selling out and they're going to be sitting there for weeks. Man, I hope Fanatics Topps gives us more allocation. I just don't see that happening. And of course, as we've talked about, allocation really the name of the game for a lot of shops. It's not everything. It's not everything. One shop that does a great job I've mentioned, Bryant. I'm going to have him back on the show here. We are due for an episode. Tampa Card Shop down there in Tampa, Florida. I've got family down there. I graduated high school down there in Tampa, so I know that area really well. Bryant's business is absolutely booming. I mean, at the National there, I went up to his case, I think it was Friday afternoon, and it was like half full. And I'm like, Bryant, what happened here? Because he's always he's locked and loaded. He's always got a lot of great cards. He's ready for this thing. He had sold out to where he's like, dude, I've got to go to the trade night tonight to get more cards to put in these showcases. And the one thing he told me that was interesting too, he wasn't bought out by a repacker. He hadn't seen any repackers. So I think that's something to kind of take away too. Bryant, a good sized dealer, not that he never sells to repackers, I'm sure he probably does, but at this show, wasn't necessary. It was just selling to average show collectors, moving stuff all over the place. So it's not to say that allocation is absolutely everything for the card shop. It's not necessarily. It's just a big help. It's a big help to get people in, gets people in the store. They're looking for that. They're looking for that new product. And oh, you've got singles and you've got supplies and you've got all the other stuff. The other part of this interview that I thought was interesting, did you hear on that back end, right there, the back end of that clip, Michael Rubin said, don't be surprised. They want authentic collectors, athletes that are authentic collectors, but don't be surprised if you see more athlete-owned hobby shops.
We're going to do this very carefully, but I won't be surprised if you saw other incredible athletes that were known to be authentic collectors end up in the future owning hobby shops as well.
Now, will they be as big as Tom Brady, where he's opening a huge chain and where he's got 30, 40, 50 stores? Maybe not, but there are a lot of high-profile athletes that are close with Michael Rubin. Just go back and look at his white party pictures that he posts every year. I think he's going to chill on those for a while, it seems like. I don't think he did one this year. But if you go back and just take a look, it's the who's who of athletes and a lot of celebrities there as well. So keep in mind as well that Fanatics Topps will take over the football licenses and the basketball licenses here over the next, basketball's in 2 months, and the NFL is in 6, 7, 8 months. That's all going to be under the Fanatics Topps umbrella. Tom Brady, again, being a huge partner, do we not think that huge Tom Brady cards are going to be the chases in these products? You don't think when Topps Dynasty Football comes out that there's not going to be some wicked Tom Brady cards in there? Tom Brady, not only does he own these stores, not only does he have the exclusive memorabilia deal with Fanatics, but he's also going to represent huge chase cards in the high-end products. He's going to be helping. Not only is his store selling the product, his signed cards and his mem cards and all the stuff they're going to pop out with, because it's going to be wicked. There's going to be some cool stuff that comes. He's going to be helping driving the sales of these products. This is like a well-oiled synergy. Michael Rubin, man, this guy, so smart in the fact that he has the leagues, he has players, all invested in the success of his company and Fanatics. I mean, talk about really pulling this thing full circle. I know a lot of people don't like Michael Rubin, and I'm not here to say like Michael Rubin, but as a business guy, good Lord, he has this thing set up. But what does that mean for other card shop owners? I think this is important to think about. If we have an influx of athlete-owned stores, which frankly, again, I just don't think that they're going to be begging and pleading, hey, Topps, please, we need more product. This is going to be a really interesting conundrum for Topps. I think that they're going to end up printing more. I think is what's going to happen. If we still see demand over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and more of these stores are opening up. Jeff Wilson wants to open more Cards HQs. More of these stores are opening up. They're going to have a demand. Everybody's going to want this allocation coming out, but it just can't go everywhere. It just can't unless they print more of it or they cut other people off. They've already talked about, of course, with card shops, they've got the checklist, kind of they come in and they grade out your shop. Here's where you can improve and that sort of a thing, and your allocation will be based on it. I think a lot of stores are going to have very limited allocation. Stores that have been used to getting it over time, maybe a lot of new direct accounts with Topps here over the next few years, the ones that don't adapt or the ones that just can't keep up or be able to offer the same sort of marketing power that an athlete-owned store can. Because think about that. If it's a LeBron James-owned store, if it's a Kevin Durant-owned store, Kevin Durant, he was at Fanatics Fest. I'm just trying to think of who are the athletes, that are there that are tied in. James Harden. If James Harden's got a series of stores, average Joe card shop owner is now going to be competing with high-profile athletes with marketing power because they have their own brands as athletes, of course, that can really market these stores out to their IGs, to their social medias, all that stuff. It's going to be tough sledding. The one thing that I really do hope that Fanatics and Topps and Michael Rubin, I hope that they really don't eliminate a store just because it doesn't look exactly like, a card vault by Tom Brady. And I know that they've said, hey, it doesn't need to be a 10,000 square foot store. It could be a smaller store, but there is something to kind of that sleepy card store. I think gone are the days where you've got like stacks of, unorganized cardboard in a card shop to where you're going to get allocation from Fanatics anyway, Fanatics Topps. However, there are a lot of stores that have huge local and regional followings that are very popular that might not necessarily look the part of what a Fanatics Topps store would look like under a Tom Brady or maybe another athlete. I hope that they take that into account of like, oh man, this dude's been here for 20 years and people love him here locally. We should still reward a store like that, even if it's not a 3-story, monstrosity or, kind of doing all the things on that particular checklist. But again, this is going to be a really hard thing. There's going to be a lot of people pulling for that new product. It's not going to get any easier. I think Jeff Wilson told me on the interview last time I had him on, it's going to be survival of the fittest is what he called it as far as being a card shop owner. It's going to be tough. So this is something to watch. It's not to say that you need allocation to run a successful store. It just helps quite a bit. It helps to get customers in, new customers. They're looking for new products. You can offer it. It gets people in the door. All right, on to grading. So GemRate, shout out to Ryan. Good to see you out at the National. I wish I could have spent a little bit more time with Ryan at GemRate. I got a couple minutes in, but it's always, I swear, it's always like 5 minutes or less with everybody there. But Ryan from GemRate released his recent numbers for July and grading up year over year, 34% grading in general. So we're talking about the big four, PSA, CGC, SGC, and Beckett. A couple of things of note, PSA graded, I believe it's a new record, 1.67 million cards in July. That's plus 17% month over month, plus 31% year over year. That's crazy growth, crazy growth. The TCG Pokemon business leads the way, a little over 1 million cards there, but sports cards bounced back for them. I think it was 650,000 cards, and they were down in the 500s the previous month. So it looks like they're starting to get their capacity stuff figured out. I know this is going to be a work in progress probably through the rest of 2025, but I am confident, just knowing that team, that they are going to really work hard to get that stuff figured out. They've said in interviews, I've heard Nat, I've heard some of the guys talk about, they just got caught off guard by Pokemon in early 2025. Prismatic Evolutions was a huge release for Pokemon, and Nat said that caught them a little off guard, and they got behind. They've been working off of a backlog, but they've got new systems in place. They've got some new things that they're incorporating tech-wise and then also people-wise that I think are going to make this thing open up a little bit more for them. So yes, we've got some waits. There's just such high demand in 2025 that's continued on, but that will get sorted out. I'm very confident there. CGC had another strong month. They were down 7% month over month, but if you look year over year, 110%, plus 110%. This is the fastest growing grading company. If we're looking at year over year, 110%. It's mostly TCG, so I think what you're seeing is just the same thing that PSA got, where it's just lots of Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, There's a lot of it hitting grading companies. A lot of it went to PSA, but CGC also got a horde of this stuff as well. 399,000 cards in July, and about 40, I believe it was 40,000 or so with sports cards. So they're just mainly a TCG shop, but they have been so strong here over the last 12 months. SGC. So, of course, we had the big news. Pete is out at SGC. To be honest, me and a lot of other content creators kind of reported that SGC looked a little slow at the National. I did not look over. I didn't pass by the SGC booth one time and see it slammed. I saw people there. I saw customers. But of all the grading companies, including Beckett, I saw a line at Beckett. SGC looked a little sad. I'm just going to be honest. Now, in the month of July, 153,000 cards. It's still very strong. Minus 3% month over month, minus 21% year over year. So showing a little bit of a decline. The real numbers are going to show here over the next couple of months for SGC if there's a big fall off. I think the anticipation is that there will be a fall off. I don't know if people are thinking that they're going to be grading 150 to 175,000 cards a month as they have been. Ryan Hogue had mentioned here that this is going to be kind of treated more like a boutique firm, SGC, and that they are going to let the market decide as to kind of, who wants to use PSA, SGC. Of course, they're both under the collector's umbrella, and customers will decide, hobbyists will decide where they want to go. But I think there's consensus here that a lot of hobbyist content creators assume that the numbers for SGC will fall. How far will they fall? Will it be 100,000 cards they grade a month? Will it be 50,000 cards they end up grading a month? Will it stay at 150? I guess that's the thing that we'll have to see. Beckett, 75,000 cards in the month of July. Pretty strong for them, really. They've consistently hovered around 50,000, 60,000 cards for quite a bit. They're up 19% month over month, and then year over year, plus 37%. That's really good growth for Beckett year over year. Are they bouncing back a little bit? Have they found a little bit of a groove? Could Beckett be a company that actually picks up business from SGC? I have seen Beckett make some marketing pushes. Roth, I think, put a huge Caitlin Clark card into a Beckett slab. I don't think that happened by coincidence. Maybe it did, but why did he go to Beckett instead of PSA? I assume there was some sort of a deal there worked out with Roth between the two. I have no idea, though. Maybe not. Maybe Roth just decided to go to Beckett instead of PSA for that card. But I think Beckett kind of making some inroads here. So let's see. That sounds weird to say, as there's been very limited communication out of Beckett really since the pandemic. We're going 5 years now. But let's see what happens. So grading as a whole, up 34% year over year. Absolutely tremendous. And that's not including other grading companies that are in the space that are also having success. The card hobby, again, when you look at this past National, it had to have been the most well-attended National that I've been to. And the most amazing part was it was busy Wednesday, Thursday. Usually Wednesday, Thursday, you get kind of a lead up. There's a build up there. And Friday, Saturday, absolutely slammed. Wednesday, Thursday, we're cooking. I mean, that Thursday where we took video, I took some video kind of driving up to the show.
The line to get into the National. If you don't have a badge yet, this is on Thursday. And it just keeps on going. Wow.
If you were general admission, man, you might have waited 2 hours in line before you ever even got into this place. And look, the Rosemont Center is not small. It's not small at all. Now, maybe part of that line was, I heard some people in the comments, this could be very true, it's just the way they were letting people in, kind of having to scan everybody. It could have maybe just been that they didn't have enough lines open or something to where it was creating kind of a bottleneck for people. But still, it was a spectacle to see people going all the way around the convention center. When I was here 2 years ago, 2023, I don't remember it quite like that. And so this, to me, was a very successful show. I did mention in my last video, if you missed my recap video here over the last couple of days, what I would really like to see at the National, I think that would really round out this show. If we're talking about like what's the one thing missing, it's more editorial, educational style content. Editorial content is basically where, they pay speakers to come in. Maybe it's Dr. Beckett. I'm just throwing a name out there. I don't know if he would even want to do it, but having Dr. Beckett have a breakout session about maybe, talking about parts of the card history, maybe his work on Beckett Magazine. I think that would be a fun panel, a fun talk. They did have some cool stuff on the main stage there, but I think really kind of broadening that out. Most of the stage stuff, most of the, the entertainment on stage was more around promotion marketing. It was around opening packs. Who's going to win a pack? Who's going to come open a pack? And we had just so much of that in kind of the Breaker Arena it was just so much push around, free packs for everybody. Let's open packs, rip packs, rip packs. Of course, because the manufacturers, the companies, they want us to open that new product. I would like to see more education around singles. I did have a comment too where I respect the comment, but I respectfully disagree with him saying essentially that, why would they do editorial educational content at the National when, that's all over YouTube? It's free on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. I'm not convinced that most of the people at the National watch YouTube, or if they do, it's pretty limited. I think the idea is that, everybody's watching YouTube sports card stuff. I don't really believe that to be true. I think there's some, and maybe they catch it here and there. There's not a bunch of people to me that are at that show, the National, that are locked into YouTube every day. And even if they are, why not add some in-person panel activity? Dr. Beckett in person is different than watching, Sports Card Insight podcast. Actually seeing the legend in person and have him talking about cards, Q&A, whatever it is, that would be pretty damn cool. So kind of expanding out the editorial stuff. There's a lot they could do there. It could be even, Topps executives talking, maybe longtime Topps people talking about the history of 52 Topps baseball cards, talking about how it all got started, bringing in more editorial speakers to talk about the history of the hobby. It could be Dr. Beckett. It could be Fleer. It could be an executive from Fleer talking about 86, 87, just kind of talking about the history of this stuff. Why do people care so much about it? I think that would really round out the show. It would be something pretty cool to see. All right, friends, that's all I've got today. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.